Mm. Hold on.
Okay.
We're gonna get it. We're gonna catch it how it is. We're gonna catch it how.
All right. The account owner can watch this recording if it's stored in the cloud. Any participant granted permission can one record to their local device or two invite an app to record for them. These individuals can share these recordings with apps and others. By staying in this meeting, you consent to be recorded. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Cause that's you.
Oh.
You gonna read the fine print. I'm gonna skip to my Lou.
Hey,
I'm,
you know what? I'm an analyst, you
I'm,
know?
I'm gonna push, accept, and keep on going. I'm the person.
And
Hey,
this is the reason why we are having this discussion right here, because we're talking about cybersecurity, right?
right. Yes.
We're talking about um, a lot of the things that we do on a regular basis that are not always, best practices.
Man.
So, without getting too deep into the woods with the whole IT thing, I
Hmm.
guess we can just kind of start off and talk a little bit about what IT is. Um,
Well, you know what? Before we even do that, let's just talk about like your background, where you started, my background, where I started. You know what I'm saying? How you figured out this is the industry you want to be in, right? Let's just
okay,
give the people the very beginning, because a lot of times people are trying to figure out like, A, how do I get started? B, is it too late? Is it gonna take me too long to learn? Let's just chop it up from the basics, from the beginning.
okay, okay. And I can talk a little bit, so let me just fix my hat so
Okay,
I
you
can
want me
stand on
you
my
want me to go
podium.
first so we can let the people really hear?
um, yeah. So, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get it out of the way and try not
All
to
right,
get
all
too
right,
long
all right.
about it.
All right,
So,
well, let's keep it structured then. I'm gonna try to keep you on task. All right,
okay,
let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 100. Keep it a bean. Whatever
let's
they saying
do it.
nowadays. No,
Yeah,
no
let's do
cap,
it.
right? All
Let's
No,
do
right.
that's
it.
good. No, that's all right.
How old are you?
Okay, so I am 44 years old. 44.
You gotta think about it, bro.
Hey, I had to make sure the people got to
Okay.
know.
All right. So you're 44, right? How
I'm
long? How
44.
long you been in the IT industry? Like legit, like in the industry. Not talking about all your transferable skills. Like how long you been in the industry?
Okay, so I've been in the industry, the IT industry, and to be specific, this is information technology. I'm really new in the game. It is about 3 months, so we'll just call it 100 days.
Okay.
100 days in IT. And So that's the extent of my experience at this point.
Like
So
in the industry, but before you actually got in, you went to school, was like, hey, I gotta figure out some other kind of way because what you was doing before just wasn't cutting it. So what were you doing before you started going to school and then transitioning to your first 100 days in the industry?
so I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet too because for me, I took the long path to get here, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I was taking the long path when I started. Initially, I started going to UNC Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going originally for software engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Well, life gets in the way, and sometimes you got to put that stuff on pause. So from there, I just kind of like, I knew in my mind I wanted to be involved with some sort of computerized technology because when I graduated high school in '96, the big rage was you should do computer science. Do computer science because that's where technology is going. And at that time, we were just getting America Online.
Mm-hmm.
People were just beginning to understand the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was like, okay, bet I'm gonna study. I'm gonna get something in computer science, something dealing with computers, because for me, that was gonna be my avenue into the internet. I wasn't even thinking about IT as a career field. It was just I wanted to do more stuff that involved getting on the computer and exploring what the internet, provided,
Mm-hmm.
So um that is in a nutshell, also to kind of like fast forward to where I am presently.
Mhm.
Um, I took the long route, but now that I'm in IT,
Mhm.
one of the main reasons why I got into it is because as far as making a lateral move, like from one income bracket to another income bracket without having to start down, because when you're starting when you're new in a field, you have to start out at the bottom and work your way up to a certain income level, and
Mhm.
then you realize that, okay, after so many years, you're going to be reaching the cap, right?
Right.
You're going to reach your financial ceiling. And so for me, I was realizing that, number one, I was getting older
Mhm.
and wearing my body down physically with the type of work that I was doing. So I wanted something that I could laterally transfer to, that
Mhm.
I wouldn't have to start back at the bottom or too far at the bottom to work my way up and continue. Also
Right.
to raise my financial ceiling,
Mhm.
um, and make myself more marketable for the long term.
So, like, for everybody else that's trying to make sure that they don't take the long route, because a lot of people are more concerned with, like, hey, I need to get to the bag. I don't want to take the long route. So, what exactly is the long route for you? What does
um
that mean? Like, I took the long route.
well, it took me a long time to finish school, um
Okay. So
so I didn't get.
just making the decision to go to school and then actually finishing it
Yeah,
on
yeah,
okay.
that life gets in the way. You get life, dating, relationships, having fun, partying, bills, work, etc. And sometimes you got to put stuff on the back burner until you
Mhm.
can come back for it. And by the
Mhm.
time I kept coming back for it, I'd have a little bit of time to do a semester here or do a semester there. And then, life gets in the way again, and you got to go back to work for your real job
Yeah.
before you can start pursuing your dream job. So,
So the lesson in your long route for the people who are trying to figure out, if they are off track or on time is like stuff happens, but just stay consistent with it.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
in 4 years, if you take, your time and if you see, like, if you say, all right, I want to get a bachelor's in cybersecurity, and you're discouraged because it's going to take you 4 years. Well, in 4 years, the 4 years is going to come and go whether you start the class or not. So you might as well just start the class. That's the
Yeah,
lesson for a lot of
that's
people. A
the
lot of people are
lesson.
hesitating and looking at all these years of experience that a lot of these job requirements are listing. But like, if you
Hmm.
don't start somewhere, you're never going to build up the years of experience. Like,
Indeed.
yeah, like I feel like for me, it was the opposite. I ain't gonna say I took the long route. I took the route that showed the most dollars. And funny enough, like my interest started with software engineering. That's what I wanted to do. But I figured out very quickly that for me, it was going to be too steep of a learning curve, especially
Hmm.
because I was pushed up against the timeline of getting out the military. And
Hmm.
so for me, I was like, the first and the 15 checks is going to stop. And I need to figure out where the next couple of checks is going to come from. And I want it to
Right.
be exactly what you said. I need to be lateral. I need a career that my lifestyle, my the way I live is not going to change, or it's not going to be significantly decreased. So
Hmm.
like it started with a cert, right? You know what? We're not gonna get into that yet. We because we still talking about it. I,
Right.
I ain't gonna tell
Right.
my
You
story.
know
So
what?
you,
Hey, there's a lot to unpack.
it's a lot.
There's a
It's
lot
a
of
lot.
content here.
Yeah.
So we hope the goal is to bring more people that look like us into the
Yes.
field. And
Yes.
you know, everything that we do as a culture, we
Mm-hmm.
usually put a little bit of extra seasoning on it. You
Right.
know, um, we can Michael Jordan and Venus and Serena and Tiger Woods, just about everything we can get our hands into.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that reason, I feel like this is the perfect field for the culture to kind of like get in there and put
Yeah.
crossovers
Yeah.
and Michael Jordan it pretty much, Michael
Yeah. I
Jackson, all the
mean,
great
the
Michaels.
problem is like I ain't gonna say it's a problem because our culture is so talented. Like the generation now is super talented, very fierce, very ambitious. Like the one
Yeah.
thing that I like about this generation that that a lot of people, a lot of the older people that are beyond us don't like is how fearless these young kids are. Like they don't fear anything. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And like it's good and it's bad because like without it being directed or harnessed properly, it can become reckless. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's
And
right.
so like for me, I really want to be able to get to some of the people coming behind us and be like, yo, it might not look cool, it might not look sexy, it might not look like what you see on the videos, but the
Right.
bag is there. Like you can get the
Yeah,
money. It's
yeah,
out here. You know what I'm
it
saying?
certainly is.
Without
It
getting
certainly
into
is.
too much detail, but like more than just six figures in the 200 and $300,000 jobs. Now don't get it twisted. Like you're not gonna jump in from day one with
And
a six
splash all
figure
over that.
job,
Yeah.
which is what people are trying to push. But like in a year's time, with 1 year's experience, I had a $16,000 increase. Let's just say that in 1 year, from
Right.
entry level to the next level in 1 year's time, it was a $16,000 increase. So if you think about in another year's time, if that's the same thing, if we just talking about that's well over a six-figure income. You know what I
Indeed.
mean? And people
Yeah.
are just not patient to kind of like
Yeah.
claw from the bottom, like what you're saying.
And again, it is, when you're talking about moving laterally, you know, um, financially speaking, there are so many jobs that you can do within IT that will
Mm-hmm.
allow you to go where your strengths are,
Mm-hmm.
so for those of you guys that are looking to make a career transition, number one takeaway from this lesson is, it's never too late to start. And if you
Mm-hmm.
do feel like it's too late to start or that you're getting started late, know that it's not going to take a lot of time to get from nothing to an IT professional. That time,
A very comfortable lifestyle. Like,
if you
what
can
I don't
commit.
like about a lot of the IT influencers right now is they're making it seem like if you get an entry level job at 75 and 80K, like it's pennies. 75 and $80,000 is not nothing to sneeze at when
You're
you
right.
are used to making, 12 and $14 an hour. Like
Right.
that's really comfortable living if you know how to manage your money. Like
Right.
you can really live good. So don't feel like you getting short sighted or you getting the short end of the stick if you get offered a 80K job, because 80K is life changing money for somebody. And I'm
Indeed.
telling you,
And
like, if you want to know like the real about the industry, that's what we're gonna talk about on this channel. We're gonna tell you what it is like from the perspective of
yeah.
people who got started in the IT/cybersecurity industry late in age. Because James said he was 44, I'm 39, and I'm only about 6 months ahead of him in the industry. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and so it's not too late. All right. So
It is not too late.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna back up and do like a short like bio, starting from you graduated high school, what you did, went to school, and then what part of the cyber industry you in now, and then I'll do the same.
Okay. So I'm 44, right? So I have a lot of work history.
Mm-hmm.
So I did do a bunch of different jobs. So for me, I'll be probably speaking more towards the older guys or girls or the peers that are in my group, and also the people that are younger, that are
Mm-hmm.
18, 19 years old. Maybe they just graduated this summer, and they're around the house and they're going back and forth to McDonald's or fast food or some kind of stuff that's local to your area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, speaking from that point of view, I started at 18. I graduated high school,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was suggested for me because of uh, my dad's own his limited experience. I'll say that. I won't say limited education, but his limited experience. Um, he suggested that I join the military, right?
Right.
So I did that. Joined the military. I did 4 years. I specialized in aviation electronics, a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of electrical theory,
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Got out of the Navy
Mm-hmm.
using those same skills that I learned and got into the electronics manufacturing industry, right?
Right.
A lot of analyzing circuits, a lot of analyzing systems,
Mm-hmm.
subsystems, technical, very, very technical. From there, I worked for DirecTV.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got a lot of hands-on skills. I learned a little bit about satellite technology and transmission and how, the telecommunications industry works.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. From there, I worked, as you can see, I worked um, for Lockheed Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we worked on aircraft, F-35s, another type of industry that's, it's maintenance based, but it's complex systems, it's electronic theories, it's radars, communication. It sounds like a very lot of technical stuff, but
Right.
starting from the beginning, I had to work my way up to that point, like with any other job, right?
Right.
Um, so that was, I'll say that was probably a 25-year journey, taking a
Just to
long
that
time.
point, just to like right where you
If
are
my
now.
math is right, it's been a long time, it
Yeah.
might even be more than 25 years. But again, it was suggested that I go one path
Mm-hmm.
because, you're 18, what do you know aside from what your parents tell you, right? You're
Right.
kind of guided by your parents, your teachers, the people that you trust and love and care for. And, primarily you trust people you trust.
Right.
Um, so hopefully we can be people that you can trust, and, you can take what we have learned up to this point and run with it or
Right.
flex it or flip it or dip it, however you want to do it. Cause you know how we do,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's just keeping it real. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to get to the bag, look at the computer industry, look at tech, look at information technology. Anywhere within there, you
Mm-hmm.
can you can electric slide all over that. Um, you can two step. Hey, you
Yeah,
can
hit them
get
with
in
it.
there. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
you can.
right. You right. You
You're
right.
right.
So
I'm,
so you
I'm
did Lockheed, all the F-35s, and then you was just like tired of wearing your body out, and then what happened?
so it got to a point where I was like, right, I'm wearing my body out. I need to do something that's less physical because you only got one body. You're getting older every day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at some point, you're not going to be able to move like you used to, right?
Right.
It's just facts of life, right? But as long as you have your mind, you can continue to do whatever you want to do, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I said, okay, what job can I do where I can work with my mind instead of work with my body? I've
Mm-hmm.
always been interested in some kind of technical field. I consider myself a nerd. So what can I do that's gonna get me in my swim lane? Where's the
Right.
technical stuff? Where's the nerdy stuff? And I started with that, and income was one of those two filters that I searched for. It needs to have a good income, starting income, because if I'm starting at the beginning, I need to be, up here. Not,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got 25 years to start all over again. So I need to
Right.
get back at it. I need to move
Right.
laterally. Information technology fit that bill. There was technical, there was computers, there was a lot of complex systems. But before we even get into all of that,
Mm-hmm.
it fit the bill. And now I am in a position where I'm at the beginning and I'm still looking for more information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where can I go? Who can tell me how to flip and dip and two step and electric slide even further into this
In the
industry?
industry.
In 20 years from now, I want to be looking back and say, hey, don't do this, do that. You should
Right.
do this, you should do that.
Right.
Avoid that because that's a waste of time. Don't even,
Right. And so, like, if you had to just give like a summarized version of what part of the cyber industry or IT industry are you in right now, how would you explain that to somebody who's trying to figure out, well, you know what, my background was similar to yours. I was in the military and I worked on aircraft. So what industry are you in that I could probably try to fast forward myself through your path? What's the industry that, like, what's the little bubble that you work in right now under the umbrella of IT/cybersecurity?
Okay, so the umbrella that I am in is it's within I'm trying to think of a way to say this where it's plain and not like work speak, you know?
All right. So if it's GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, what's the equivalent to the culture's version of governance, risk, and compliance?
Okay. So let's break it back down. Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, essentially, that's what it is. It's GRC, but you're on you do more technical stuff in the risk and compliance world.
Okay, so this is one of the things that is important for you to know if you're going to IT, right? Mm-hmm. One of the skills that you need to be able to have is the ability to convey complex subjects to all different kinds of audiences, right?
Facts,
from people that have never heard of this stuff to the people that are swimming in it. You know, you need to be able to reach a lot of people. So I'm gonna try to do that as one of the skills. So I work in governance, risk, and compliance, right? Governance, risk, and compliance is a field that basically says, look, there are a set of rules and things that we have in place that you got to follow, right? As long as you follow these things, we don't have to come after you. We don't have to investigate. We don't have to just follow the rules and everything is going to be fine, right?
Right. Okay.
So that's the kind of industry I work in. It's not really, it's almost like, it's almost like you hire a burglar to check your house out, right? Mm-hmm. But imagine your friendly neighborhood burglar,
right?
And instead of stealing when he comes into your house, he leaves little notes around and says, "Hey, you need to put your locks on your windows because when I knocked on the door, even though your door was locked, I hit the window and I got in and I ate the cookies and the milk and the cereal, you know, and all that. And by the way, you need more Kool-Aid, whatever. Take care of that because in about 3 months from now, I'll come back and check you again because, you know, we've been getting a lot of reports and, you know, I'm just trying to help you all out." So that's my job in IT.
So the risk and compliance is more or less like, I'm going to come to the crib. I'm going to identify all of your weaknesses. I'm going to come in. I'm going to let you know how I got in. And I'm going to write you a report on the way out. And be like, you better fix this because if I come back, I'm going to get some more.
I mean, and if I'm really, I might sleep and not tell you. And then get up and then leave.
You go cover your tracks.
Hey, you know, when it comes to vulnerable, right? Somebody can get in. We're talking about hacking now, right? Being hacked. All right, it's telling me my internet connection is unstable, but
mine too, man. Mine too.
Yeah. So anyhow, we'll talk about hacking that's another department.
Okay. So in a nutshell, the risk and compliance is I'm checking your vulnerabilities. I'm physically trying to penetrate the way your infrastructure is right now.
Yeah.
And look at Zoom trying to tell me to upgrade. Nah, look.
Okay. So we got like 10 minutes left in the meeting.
That's all right. We'll start another one.
It's cool. Yeah, we're gonna
run this one through. Okay, so
every dollar out of it.
So you work in the governance, risk, and compliance. I'm gonna give the speedy version of my background so we can get it done in under 10 minutes. All right, so boom, right? Very similar paths, except like I was more like a student athlete in high school. Didn't really know how I was gonna pay for high school. Life happened. Nobody could afford to send me to school. I ain't had no scholarships. Guess what? I know people in the military. I'm gonna do the same thing, right? So I joined. My job in the military was more like radar navigation, like just kind of tracking and finding other ships and aircraft and stuff like that. Very similar to like, you know, the intel space. You're in a dark blue room watching all the computer screens. kind of technical, kind of, strategic in nature. I spent 20 years pretty much doing the same thing. And it wasn't until like my last 3 years where I was like, yo, I really got to figure out what I want to do. So one of my homegirls hit me up and was like, hey, you want to go to this course? And I was like, yeah, what is it? And it just happened to be Security Plus, right? Well, I didn't know what it was. At the time, I was a security manager, just processing security clearances for other sailors or whatever. So that's how we swung it that I could get into this class, because nobody really knows like what my role was and whether it was or wasn't considered IT, right? And that's the beautiful thing about IT. The umbrella is so big. There's so much under it that you can call it IT. But anyway, so I go to this course. It's a week-long boot camp, and it's eye-opening. This is not a path that I recommend for a lot of people who are not quick with like picking up content and retaining it, because it was a boot camp and it was pass or fail at the end, like, and the certificate or the certification is expensive. So I went to this boot camp. Long story short, I passed the cert on that Friday, and I was introduced to a lot of IT stuff, and I was like, oh, I think I want to get into this industry. So I'm not thinking anything about the cert. I go back to work. I'm still processing security clearances. I'm still working on my associate's degree because I haven't figured out what I want to get my bachelor's in yet. Homegirl comes back a year later and she's like, yo, Jen, I need you to go sit in another course because I need, a certain amount of people to sit in the seats in order to get my sailors through the boot camp. The Navy's going to pay for them to go, but I need at least 5 people. I got 4. You want to be the 5th? And I was like, okay. So I said, well, what is this one? And she was like, it's certified ethical hacker. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'll go. I ain't know what she was talking about. Same thing. It's a week-long boot camp, but it's hard because it's a lot of technical concepts that I just don't know about, right? So I go to the course, I test out that Friday, and I failed. Well, they give you 2 chances. I tested again, and I failed it again. So I was heartbroken. I was like, ain't no way, just like the driving me was like, I know this stuff, right? So I went back to the Navy and used what was called Navy Cool and was like, hey, I want to get a voucher for this exam, and they approved it. We'll talk about how I got that done in another talk, but they approved it. I went back, I took it, and I got it. So that I became certified to ethically hack, right? One of the hardest tests I ever took. After I took that, that's when I knew like cybersecurity was the pathway for me. So I finished up my associate's degree, started working on my bachelor's program. But at the time, I still wasn't quite sure I wanted to do cybersecurity. My passion and my excitement was with software development. And there was a lot of those courses in my bachelor's program. Well, guess what? Now it's almost time for me to get out of the Navy, right? And I got just a couple of more semesters to go. The Navy had this transition program called Hiring Our Heroes, or Skill Bridge. But the program I used was Hiring Our Heroes. It was sponsored by U.S. Chamber of Commerce, whatever. So I did a bunch of interviews, got some hits. The way it works is they blast your resume out. I had mine tailored to IT, even though I wasn't IT per se. I had it. Somebody saw interest. Fortune 100 insurance company hit me up and was like, we want to put you in our cyber defense operation. They're a global insurer, like one of the largest whatevers. And that was my opportunity into the industry. And so my background now in the industry is mostly cyber defense operations, but that ethical hacking and that security plus kind of gave me that little nudge I needed to figure out what I want to do. It's not the path that I recommend because it was hard, but it is a way in the industry. It is a way in the industry. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, cool. That was a lot of good information. I know that there are a lot of people that are in the Navy that are probably in the IT field already. So you probably already know, a lot of the terms that we've been talking about on a very like high level. And if you don't, it's okay. You can learn all these subjects like any other job you go to. They're gonna train you, but you need to be able to hear the words that they're telling you. If you're going to work at McDonald's and you never worked on a grill, if they tell you to close the clamshell, if that's an industry term, you're not going to know what close the clamshell is unless
Right.
you worked at McDonald's. So it's that kind of stuff. You got to know
Yeah.
nomenclature, right? This is
Hmm.
the terms that are used in the industry. So you got to you got to be thirsty for information. You got to be hungry for knowledge. You got to be curious. That's one of the things too. If you're looking for, you
Hmm.
know, if you're interested in this industry, those are one of the things you have to have as far as your interests are. You got to be curious about finding the answer. You got to be nosy. You got to be
Yeah.
all these things that make
Yeah.
you continue to go look for information and find out what is the truth. You have to be a truth seeker, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
In fact.
so if you are a person that is inclined to try to, if you're straight laced, you like to color within the lines, um, the IT world, it's very technical. So
Hmm.
because of that, it relies on a lot of rigid structures and
Hmm.
protocols and things that allow two complex systems to communicate. So
Yeah.
if one computer is speaking English over here, this other computer needs to be able to speak English. It might be able to speak English and Spanish and French and German, but if all you know is English, your ability to connect with this other computer and transmit and share information is going to be limited.
Hmm.
And um, that deals a little bit with computerized the communication, how an email is sent from one computer to another computer. A lot of times
You know what?
people don't even understand like
Yeah. And
what's
you know
behind the
what?
curtain.
You make a good point. It probably sounds like really technical to a lot of people, but I think the one thing to take away from what he's explaining is that as you go through the journey, don't be in a rush. Like, because you'll find that you can get the certs like I did, and you can, finagle your resume. But when you get in that seat, you got to know, like, how does email actually go from point A to point B, and how, if you'll get these questions in an interview, what does it mean? Like, if you put in google.com, what does that mean? So take your time. And the term we like to use is eat your peas. Just
Yeah,
sit there, eat your peas. You'll grow big and strong.
yeah,
And when you got the foundations down, everything else is going to come easy. Because I'm going to tell you, when I got in the seat, I was looking crazy, like I don't know what they talking about, and I had to
right,
learn on the fly. That's why I say I
right.
wouldn't necessarily go the route that I took. It works, but I was doing a lot of faking it until I made it for like the first 6 months of the whole journey. So with that said, we're running out of time. We want to just encourage you to just get started somewhere. And next episode we're gonna talk a little bit more about the day in the life of both of our jobs.
Okay.